And welcome back. Northstar here with another episode of my Vampyr Let's Play. Now, it's been a little bit. I know. I am sorry that it's been like that. However, with my long COVID, energy levels, it's sometimes hard to keep up with stuff. Somewhere in this safe house that's like inside a building, I don't really remember. Oh, looks like that's probably the way out. Maybe it's not safe below. Where was the workbench? Voila, and all this junk. Should recycle. Pretty sure I found that most of this stuff actually sells for more if I sell off the parts after recycling it. I could be wrong. And there was a weapon upgrade to make. The Pruin steak. It's worth knowing the truncheon does the same thing, but even better. Just to show. Can have same stun at higher stamina use at the first level, but then it can pick up stun after that. So I should say not even better. It can go more pure stun than the steak. Steak, though, less stamina. It's overall a better weapon than Pruin steak. Anyways, I was going to upgrade the steak here. I didn't look at someone creating a so-called guide about builds, but yeah, it's kind of silly. People assume that one thing is always best and spec heavily into it. No, different things are best for different enemies, and I don't know, they just kind of want to rush through the game. That's their prerogative if they want to do it. The hatchet is a harder hitting version of the bludgeon. You just need more stamina to use it effectively. So I was going to upgrade into this. I have 5 damage at that level. This is 95. The bludgeon can go harder into stun though, admittedly. I get most of my stun from the steak. So yeah, I'll go handling. Stun and handling there. I did upgrade the machete because I don't really use it. It's a dead end, an early item. Cudgel that's all stun. This knife that's all blood absorption, though para. I haven't gotten to the point where I've just said, okay, I'm rich enough, I'm just gonna use shotgun. Range weapons are obviously better in many ways. But yeah, this is a game that's got a lot of story to it, and to just boil it down to kill stuff better is kind of really selling the game short. So it's a dark game for sure. Sometimes even literally. Like the brightness here is very bad, particularly problematic during the daytime. If it's a bright sunny day like today. Comes hard to see. But yeah, for all the dark storytelling, combat in this game is very simplified. I'm not really sure why people play this. Is just a combat game. There's better games for that if you really want that. I mean, there's pure fighter games, obviously, and like tactical RPGs if you care more about strategy. Could that be an entrance to the place I was just in?
I cannot enter.
Yep. Let's see. I was gonna find that last citizen, give him a cure. Benjamin Palmer. I do wonder if I messed that up, if I could have given him. I didn't realize there was a choice there. Giving that letter or news could have saved his son from entering the, was it the Guard of Pruin, I think he enters, because he's a dumbass. Like, I'm not denying the vampires are a threat, but you're making yourself cannon fodder, and clearly they've been around for a very long time, and humanity hasn't exactly gone extinct. You're not going to make them disappear, and you're probably just going to get yourself killed. That's a silly quest. And honestly, it's just a whole someone else is responsible for all my problems mentality. God, I don't even remember how to select. Yeah, it hasn't been that long. True. I don't have. This isn't. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this computer. It's ridiculous. Control is right. These guys might be a little tough to deal with. I'm tired and where is Benjamin Palmer? I wish he could probably could set up a custom marker for where he is, but that's the church. That's the priest. Keep exploring. I'll find him somewhere. But yeah, I've been struggling to keep up with games. It's been a tough couple weeks on COVID. Of course, I kind of pushed myself to be around people right around Christmas, New Year's, and then there's a price to pay with overexertion with long COVID. It's just how it is, I guess. It really needs to be effort into curing this disease, but there's the money and power. We'd rather just throw away human lives of those who got sick and wait for it to disappear, except it won't, because long COVID's still going around, and more people get long COVID with every round of infections of COVID. You get a risk of long COVID with every infection. never stops. So it's short-sighted, just like the way, I don't know, climate change is being handled. Maybe some rich jerks have calculated they'll get wealthier by investing money in the stock market on average than trying to deal with this long-term problem. Okay, Mr. Palmer.
Can I help you?
I'm afraid not, Mr. Reed.
I think I can help you.
Have you any news of Nurse Crane and her dispensary?
I visited her dispensary recently. If I'd heard about it sooner, it would have made life easier.
You don't seem well, Benjamin. Do you need any help?
I always feel ill, sir. It's like I'm never right.
I can try to help your body heal, sir. But you must stop destroying it.
The war destroyed me, Doctor.
A gun, alcohol.
Yep, gun, alcohol, and bad temper. Dr. Reed wants to help. It's a little bit annoys me. People just play this game as like a fighter and just suck everyone's blood because it's easy. Like I said, they're better fighter games, and you're missing out on the whole moral conflict if you just suck as much blood as you can without causing yourself to lose the game from everything collapsing. Like, you don't have to do that. The game doesn't force you. It's very much my needs come before everyone else, and not appreciating the story for what it is approach there. I don't like it. It's another area that goes into that zone I haven't gone into yet. That would be not the West End. So I don't know what zone that is. Enemies is kind of a little above my own level. There's no need to go there yet. Do want to find that one last guy around Pembroke. Practice all on some of the skulls in the morgue and level up again. Or take upgrades anyhow. It's been a bit since I played this game. I need to get back in the feel of combat before I take on some harder fights. I am looking for Oswald Thatcher, wherever he is, now that I have a cure for him. That must be the way to... Yep. My office. I did hear someone say quail cocks. If you don't eat them, good things happen. Eventually.
We fought for England, but England won't fight for us.
I won't spoil that though.
Good evening.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
This was the guy who was in the tunnel with Noon. Noon Blight. Noon Blight doesn't accept his homosexuality. They're buried alive by bombing raid during war, World War I, the Great War.
Do you need medical attention?
Don't get me wrong, sir. I'm grateful for what you've done, but I've never felt comfortable with doctors.
I'm certain you have your reasons. But let me assure you, I'm not like other doctors you may have consulted with.
It is true. You risked your life to save me, after all. It would be impolite to refuse your counsel.
Goodbye, Mr. Thatcher. Try to take care of yourself.
Might even cause this district to be considered sanitized.
I cannot enter.
bring down prices with the vendors, as well as, from a roleplay perspective, I've made things enough better that people feel safe, at least around the hospital. Were those skulls in the sewer also? They might be a slightly different fight than the repetitive morgue raids. I haven't been down here in a while. Maybe I'll even find something I missed the last time. The poplar sewers. Did I see a shimmer? Yes, I did. Aluminum powder and shards. Fun. Use or sell. Either way. Chomp. That's where I faced the boss before, I think. Now there's a bunch of weaker ones down there. No, maybe that wasn't through there. Different sewer gate. I think I've already hit the morgue this game day, so entire rest, there won't be more skulls there. However, here,
I have this thirst for blood.
Don't be so emo about it, though. I know it's a vampire game, but they just sit there when you bite their comrades, so I mean, I guess I'm over leveled for these guys. There seems to be an infinite supply of people for them to eat down here. I don't know why people keep wandering into the sewers. Guess this wasn't where the boss fight had been. Well, there are rats here, like it's near a boss fight area.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
I can.
I have this thirst for blood.
I can presume that maybe it lets me feed less people if he's eating every rat he comes across. Plus the skulls. I mean, how much blood can a person really need, right? Yeah, that's for the low-level ones. I do think that's where the boss was before. No loot. No loot. Whatever. Here's something. I guess even your vampire doesn't want to touch that stuff. Can't jump the railing. Really, it's just a form of invisible wall to guide players and limit their explorations, but whatever. That was okay, easy at this level. Assuming I got a little XP from those fights, though. Random level 11 skull here. Very overleveled for the area it's in, it seems. Probably need to pick up the blood barrier skill and the claws, maybe. Blood barrier might be useful for when they do that block nonsense. They could just push through their attacks. Although I probably just stun them when they do that. Or that. Ow, get off me. Some tarps thrown over some junk, and this is where I found a quest knife. And here's yet another recruiting poster for the army. It's of course because they preferred to have volunteers and have to conscript people, just because more politically feasible, but really, would the British Empire care for human lives? They just wanted to conquer stuff. I've got a one of my other Let's Play series is a Hearts Iron one where playing Germany and getting in a very grindy war that's kind of similar in some ways to World War One, in that it goes on and not fast moving. That's a World War Two game, but of course World War One didn't have to end up avoiding the same slowness as World War Two had. Oop. It did because well, the Germans caught a lot of nations unprepared for another war, still recovering from the first. But and then they also adapted to, armored combat sooner than the rest of the world, caught nations by surprise before anti-tank guns become common enough to really make that far less effective. But yeah, not in my game. I take Germany communist and end up doing that through 2 civil wars, which greatly weaken Germany, in the short run at least. Only one was actually necessary to do the ideology flip. I probably should have taking the stability hit and political power cost to avoid a second, but whatever. In that game, and been on one war with both the Soviet Union and a bunch of capitalist powers, including the Netherlands and Poland in it. Anyways, grindy, slow, kind of reminds me of World War One kind of style of combat there. I'm pushing through my video number 50 in that series, but haven't overcome the obstacles quite yet. That guy's weak to shadow. Ow. So that guy with the crossbow is probably weak to anything that can get him close distance. Stuff around here. I guess I hadn't been here in a while. I want for stuff to respawn. And that's actually where the docks are, so the missing ingredients thing in the docks, I should say. I should definitely hit that quest. And there's a hideout in here. I can do that if I don't want to track back to the hospital. Used to be better at strategy games and fighting games than most games, but with my long COVID, I think and react slower. Doing this more in tempo and muscle memory than reacting as quickly as I have to, because I just can't react that fast. Getting a sense of how the enemies move. Let's see. It's telling me it should be just up here somewhere, the missing ingredient thing. Oh, here we go. Yeah, this dazzled skull. Ooh. And this boss, apparently. Ooh. That must be the boss. So I've already got a bite build here, but it's apparently what people call this kind of way of building your character. Wasn't there another? It's just me and him. I'll deal with him. You stay still. Do some aggravated damage that he'll be slow to heal from. Oop. That was some cooldown. I was trying to coagulate him. Oh, there is another. Oh, no, that's him. He just appears in two places at once. Or as a shadow copy of himself? I'm not sure. Yeah, you can see there's like two of them. Weird. This might be a good time for a gun. Much as I appreciate the steak. Also something that it attacks fast, apparently. Eh. Simple machete will work fine. It's fast, importantly. This guy is a speed build, so that didn't work. Tried to coagulate him. Apparently I have to click again to reload my gun. I'm not sure that worked at all. Oh well, I tried. I want to change this for steak again. You stay still. Chomp. Give me your blood. Ow. Like I said, slow reactions. Did. That was annoying. But he's dealt with. This should be where missing ingredients investigation. Dr. Strickland's list. Ordered by Dr. Thoreau Strickland, Pembroke Hospital. List of substances and ingredients. Lacrima, papavirus, medical opium, sodium hypochlorite, potassium permanganate.
Opium is one of the main ingredients of Strickland's medication. Never a good move.
Learned something. Yeah, indeed, never a good move. I used to be better pronouncing stuff like that. I was trained to be a physician, and well, not trained to be a physician, training to get into a med school to start an MD program to train to be a physician. So let me rephrase that. What I said was a misspeak. I was doing a program that includes some of the academic stuff that an MD student does, what's known as a special master's, which is like part of the first year of an MD program, but use it to show you can handle the academics of an MD program. And I was doing incredibly well, perfect grades, literally the highest possible that you're allowed to get in the program. They didn't do A pluses, so it was just straight A's. And then I got COVID from my roommate across multiple state lines to come at the apartment with active COVID infection, which is, of course, a violation of the law, but what was I going to be able to do about that? And I got long COVID. It was actually my second COVID infection, but I didn't get long COVID after the first time I got COVID. I had COVID 3 times in all now. Always from other people who weren't careful enough and put me in situations I couldn't avoid. But yeah, I had to learn a lot of medical terminology and stuff, and I studied biology before then, so picked up a lot then. Had all the pre-med classes, the special masters, because partly being an older applicant, I was just having a hard time getting taken seriously. Special masters helped. I was definitely going to end up getting into an MD program if I hadn't gotten sick. With the grades like that, the program boasted about its acceptance rates to MD programs. There's no way I wouldn't have gone in somewhere. Heck, it was at a med school and they took students themselves, so if no one else, they would have let me in. Like, it was pretty much an inevitability, and I definitely couldn't have handled the academics of an MD, and then I got sick. And if they ever cure long COVID, it'll be so far down the line, I'll be too old. I'll never get to pursue that dream, probably. Because the people with power in society don't care to invest into medical research enough to cure long COVID in a reasonable time frame. And they won't until it gets to be so devastating in terms of number of people who can't work. And maybe not even then with AI around the corner. I think a lot of the very rich figure that soon they won't need so many workers. So why bother investing in make it so people can work again? People being too sick to work is an easy excuse to not give them a good standard of living under a system like ours. That's Hampton, Elwood, Alcroft. Where is this doctor? Oh, I can do a little eavesdropping. Have to get outside the room for it. Darn it. Here's Dr. Strickland.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
Tell me, Thoreau, what's the real cause of your dislike for Dr. Ackroyd?
He refuses to admit that your blood transfusion technique is the only way to save Mr. Fiddick. I'm convinced we must use it.
What Dr. Ackroyd really said is that you lack the skill to perform this operation efficiently. Is there anything you have to say about this?
It's a false conceit. Dr. Ackroyd secretly envies your reputation. His jealousy blinds him. I'm not the real target here.
I wonder if that's true.
I located the shop, but it was vandalized, and the owner is missing. All I found was your order.
I was afraid of such bad news. People are so desperate they're ready to burgle a shop for drugs.
That's quite a list you ordered. Opium, sodium hypochlorite. It can't be just headaches you're trying to cure.
This dreadful influenza, of course. I already ran some tests on hopeless cases. Without success, I must admit.
Do you realize you could create a lethal poison without the correct dosage? Then there are the legal ramifications.
Is this not true of any medical substance, Dr. Reed? However, if you would agree to improve it, I'd be glad to accept your help.
As long as you promise to be scrupulous with your experiments, I may try to gather these substances and even help improve upon the mixture.
That's all I'm asking for, Dr. Reed. That's all I'm asking.
I want to know about these secret tests you run, and if they can save people from this epidemic. Speak to me now, Thoreau.
I know I may sound presumptuous, but I'm just following your steps, Dr. Reed. I'm casting away the shadows of ignorance by daring to face them.
Self-confidence is essential in our line of work, my young colleague, but only if tempered with the correct amount of cynicism.
But you never
True.
doubt yourself, Dr. Reed. I've read all your articles and books. You performed the most daring research during the war.
Want to take a break? I think his heart's in the right place.
You have my support, Dr. Strickland. I know exactly what it feels like to battle an unknown disease with only your mind and force of will to help you.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
Like
You don't know
vampirism.
what that means to me.
Vampirism, unknown
Goodbye,
disease.
Dr. Strickland. I can't let Strickland put his patients at risk with opium. Perhaps an adjusted formula will deliver more of a placebo effect.
Really? Pretty sure opium is an ingredient in a lot of the medicines that my character makes. Let's see. Quinine, codeine. Yeah. Treatment for headache, opium. That's a bit of hypocrisy there. I've got the missing ingredients, so why can't I? Right? Six ferrous tartrate. Got tons of some of this stuff. Oh, am I out of ferrous tartrate? Salicylate. Blood samples. Clove. Codeine. Nope, ferrous tartrate got 174, but 1 potassium permanganate, 1 sodium hypochlorite. Yeah, that really is a placebo he's making. These are just stabilizers. Sodium hypochlorite. Definitely sell the blood samples. Maybe if I rest and the next day I can do that. We'll see. It's too much for claws just yet. Blood barrier is 600. Some abilities are so powerful in vampires fear to use them. Blood Cauldron is one such ability. Vampire concentrates their power on one target, makes the victim's blood boil. Through this process, the vampire will generate and absorb part of the target's blood. Vampire release their prey after a few seconds, leaving damage in blood cells within them. These cells will continue to impact their host before exploding after a short time. The blast will affect any living creature near the host. Because of its dark nature, this type of ability cannot be used too often. This, the vampire concentrates summoning the shadows in their purest, darkest form. The shadows capture the vampire's prey and toys with it like a cat with a mouse. After a brief moment, the shadows strike, impaling their prey. Because of its dark nature, it cannot be used. So interrupt and inflict damage. do a bunch of damage and absorb some of their blood. Both interrupt them and rage. Teleport strikes and blows. Right. Some people seem to like Abyss a lot, and it does a ton of damage, but Blood Cauldron lets you absorb a lot of blood. Doesn't cost anything. Right. Anyhow, can't get any of that yet. It's probably blood barrier or yeah, so I can't be interrupted as easily. So I'll take that. Learn how to use it. What? Why? Oh, yep. Sanitized. Pembroke. Healthy as it gets. The docks are stable still. Whitechapel's healthy because of treatment. West End I haven't been to, haven't met anyone, so it's the same. Well. Bracelet and rings. The rings might sell for enough to be worth. Apparently I can't recycle in either of those, so they're just good for selling, I guess. Jewelry.
The flower's dying. It needs water.
That looks like water. Why can't you? Whatever. This is my medical desk. Why can't you do the missing ingredients? Getting rather annoyed with this. This is my medical desk, right? To analyze treatments. Weapons. There's nothing to analyze, so. I guess we make another treatment for a headache while I'm here. There's no way to reclaim resources from previously upgraded stuff. Hmm. The hacksaw, if I really need speed for one-handed weapons, I guess there are times where this could be useful. I don't know, enough common handle parts. Wait, what about the firearms? Huh. Let's see, all these springs and trigger parts. I did barely anything when this hit. That was probably because it was hitting him. He was mostly immune. Shotgun shells are cheaper than spamming pistol bullets. I guess I'll upgrade the shotgun. I'm actually going to use it, though it needs to reload faster. It's upgraded, but I don't think... Maybe a medical desk is in a different room. It's not actually the...
It's locked.
I don't know what's with that. It's being weird. Got the ingredients. Where's people acting strangely that I might be able to spy on? These two. Sometimes. The shiny thing means they're acting weird. I don't see a spot to eavesdrop showing. Oh, this works. Here we go. Noticed that before, so.
How can I be sure I'll not find your unconscious body in the house again?
I promise you, you'll not find my unconscious body.
For God's sake, how can you say such a thing?
How can you refuse to listen? I tried to warn you for so long.
No, I won't let my only son die. You promised me you'll stay alive.
Your son lied to you, like the whole world lies to us.
So, he tried to kill himself. Yeah, that pretty much started to figure it was something like that. Alright. That's sad. Maybe I can find a way to help. Maybe. Oh, this is the medical desk.
Could be dangerous. I have a mind to report him to Dr. Ackroyd.
Again, it's not that different from what he's making himself. A small bottle containing the improved recipe. It's just a placebo, meaning it doesn't do anything. Guess this has tested this doctor's competence. We realize that nothing's happening. Is he using good statistical methods that would allow him to see there's no difference?
Oh, please spare me, Dark Queen. Spare your obedient slave. I will not let you down, my boy.
Here's Strickland.
Good evening, Dr. Strickland. And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
I have managed to improve the mixture by diluting it. Have you ever heard of Sir Joseph Francis Olive, or the placebo effect?
No, I don't think so. Why?
A placebo is a substance or procedure that has no actual physical effect.
You made a placebo of my project. Why?
Research has established that a placebo, as long as the subject believes in the effect, can provoke a positive physiological reaction.
Really?
That's true.
That's fascinating. And you want me to, what, administer the placebo and see what occurs?
Something like that, yes.
Well, I'm a bit surprised, but I trust you, Dr. Reed. Please take the key to my cabinet and put this placebo there for future use.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
I mean, yeah, that's why things are tested against placebos, because just believing you're receiving treatment can provide some benefit sometimes. For medicine to, be approved, it needs to exceed the placebo effect. Without the excess side effects being not worth the increased effectiveness.
It's locked, all right. It's locked.
Mr. Goswick's medical file. It's like a violation of the law. These days, if someone's not your patient, you don't get to look at their medical file. Patient Mortimer Goswick, male, age 23, followed by Dr. Ackroyd. Status convalescence, day of admission 27th October, day of release to be determined. Notes the patient shows many signs of extreme fatigue and major sores on the throat, mouth, and tongue, but no sign of flu. Refuses to speak, claims it is too painful, needs rest in healing a throat mucous membrane before any decision can be made regarding his release. The source could be due to trying to take a poison to kill himself, maybe? Letter to Dr. Swansea. Pembroke Hospital, 14th October. Dear Dr. Swansea, despite the actual urgency of the sanitary situation, I must inform you of a recent case of professional misconduct inside the Pembroke. Nurse Gwyneth Brandigan has been found guilty of undeniable, unprofessional conduct, and thus guilty of endangering a patient. Under no circumstance should a nurse diagnose and establish a prescription without at least informing the referent doctor about her conclusion. You know me, Edgar. I'm not against personal initiative when it's for the interest of all, especially during a crisis like the one we're facing, but we can't allow a nurse to perform a diagnosis and decide on a procedure to apply to a patient. I mean, we do have nurse practitioners nowadays, but sometimes they're allowed to do prescriptions in some states in the US, but that's partly to avoid the health insurers only pushed for those laws so that it wouldn't be doctors doing those tests instead, and they wouldn't, if the medical training pipeline could be expanded enough, it would ultimately cost more. They would end up having to pay for the higher education costs of doctors. Though the education is not wasted, people who are smart enough to be nurse practitioners are smart enough to be doctors. And that education make them more effective. Anyways, can't allow a nurse to perform a diagnosis and decide a procedure to apply to a patient. The fact that said patient survived is no attenuating circumstance. It just means we dodged the bullet this time. I demand the strictest authority in this manner. Very respectfully, Dr. Waverly Ackroyd. Dr. Brannigan is overqualified as a nurse, according to Dr. Tippett, and has been suspected of neglecting her professional duties. Neglecting? She made a prescription. That's not neglecting.
It's locked, all right. At least Strickland can't kill anyone with this formula.
No evidence he's killed anyone before either. That I know of. I have enough XP to maybe take one more trait, but if I stop by the morgue, gain a little more, then rest and take the upgrade. Well, I mean, it respawns every time I rest, so yeah. I think the quickest way to the morgue is cutting through. Actually, let me quickly have a word with the Mortimer here.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Admit it, Mortimer. Your mother had you hospitalized here because you tried to kill yourself.
It's true.
All right, then. This is the first time we've really shared information about your case. Shall we call this progress?
Call it what you want, Dr. Reed.
You can trust me. I won't report you to the authorities. My one and only concern is your health.
I guess I should thank you then.
Yeah, it's because back in this time period, they would imprison people for trying to kill themselves, which definitely did not help.
Can I help you in any way, Mr. Goswick?
I wrote a letter for my mother. She was supposed to read it after my death. But I suppose she doesn't have to read it now.
I see. And is this letter still near the place where you tried to take your own life?
Yes. And I don't want anyone reading my last words. I mean, I'm still here. If you bring me back that letter, then perhaps we'll talk.
Cool. Key of the Goswick's house, wherever that might be.
Your medical report says you're not affected by the Spanish flu. What do you think of that, Mortimer?
Does it make me happy? Not in the slightest. If it was up to me, I would have left this place long ago. I know I don't belong here.
And why do you think you don't belong here?
I know the staff have more important things to do than look after me. There's plenty of patients here who need their attention.
He needs attention too. I mean, he's having a mental health crisis.
But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
I'm alright. Don't waste your time with me. How can we be sure we're making
He's overcome by guilt and doesn't value himself. Probably his overbearing mother instilled some of that sense of worthlessness. Rich, controlling. He's probably dependent on her finances in some way, if I were to guess, and definitely her extremely strong personality dominates. Doesn't allow him, I don't know, a chance to express himself. There's a lot that goes into it, and she can't be blamed, obviously, entirely, but Her behavior almost certainly doesn't help if I were to guess. Yeah, I'll stop by the morgue later. Let's deal with that letter. It's one way I can help. Huh? This is probably for spying on someone in the hospital. Later. That's probably why that's there. This is a little outbuilding. Like a waiting room, probably. Or outpatient. For the only sick patients center. This is probably... Yep. This house. Oh, what a... It's treated as a hideout. My dear mother, when you find this letter, I'll be gone. I want you to know that I don't leave because of you. I leave this world because of the crushing weight that existence puts upon me. These times are too much for me. Sometimes I feel like Baudelaire's verses, who the heck is Baudelaire, have been written as an echo from my own heart. When the low, heavy sky weighs like a lid upon the spirit aching for the light, and all the wide horizon's line is hid by a black day sadder than any night. It's as beautiful as it is painful, Mother. I can't suffer any more. I don't want you to try to convince me it will delay the inevitable, for I would do it again if by any chance you managed to save me once. Farewell, your son, Mortimer.
In this
Yeah.
matter, Mortimer Goswick does nothing to hide his desire to die.
Jeez.
I could give it to his mother, but doing so would betray his trust.
He needs help, though. Fertile is the belly of the beast. Vampires create their foul progeny with blood. We all know that. Some of us... Why is this in their home? Some of us witness the process even. But what is really going on there? Is it the only way for a vampire to breed? Let's reveal what we know so far. When willing to create a progeny, a vampire will not bite, but give its blood to drink. Most of the victims die when bitten, but some of them survive and turn to leeches themselves. This only happens when they have assimilated the vampire blood, one way or another. It is not the predator's bite, but its blood that infects the victim, who will turn if he or she survives the suffering of the metamorphosis. It also seems the vampire can breed by having intercourse. The vampire mates to produce a child. Sexual intercourse between vampire and human rarely produce any birth, but some of them tried anyway. A vampire gestation is only a few weeks short, and the pain is almost unbearable for the mother. If she is mortal, she will not survive the birth. The vampire comes out of her womb by tearing apart her entrails. If the mother is a blood drinker, it will probably survive and regenerate. The new vampire will quickly grow and turn into an adult vampire in only a few months. An adversary by Kendall Stone, founder of the Guard Prune. So vampires can have kids.
It's locked.
Don't know what that's doing here, but alright. Oh, only a few months. That wouldn't be enough for neurological development. Would that create a scowl, maybe? Is that how scowls come into being? Which door did I come in? I think I came in this one. So... here's a bed. And this... it's the second floor, so... and there's a guard. A Pruin. So a couple of them here. Tasty. Try regenerating from that. The other one keeps interrupting me. Oh yeah. Abilities. I'm gonna set this to 3. And this to 4. Oh, I can't. Probably to prevent abuses, I can't use the ability after reassign the key for a while. Resets the cooldown. Probably because there are people exploiting, switching them in mid-fight. Let's see how this works. Oh well. For a few seconds there's a shimmery theme. I didn't get to see it actually do anything, but oh well. Could have rested there. That hideout. But
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor.
I'd like to...
Wise choice, Doctor.
buy a shotgun if I had a lot of money. This would be a better shotgun. I could sell my truncheon. None of the other stuff, just the truncheon. Maybe it's possible to find more. Definitely sell the blood samples. Let's see. I'm a little low on ergotamine. I think it's actually used for some cures now. I'll sell me a bullet for one more. Alright. I don't think giving an overbearing mother letter is going to help anything. Even though he needs help.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
So I'll build trust and hopefully this will help.
I retrieved your letter, Mr. Goswick. I can assure you that nobody read it but me.
Thank you. This is for you, then. For your help. And for your silence.
I think you should talk to your mother. It would be good for both of you.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. I'll think about it. Now please, let me be.
Give me money as if I...
You wrote about an unbearable feeling of world crumbles around you. Tell me more about it.
There's nothing more to say, really. It's hurtful, it's unbearable, and I don't ask anyone to understand what I feel.
The world is bleak, but maybe the pain we feel is the best compass for making it a better place.
How can we repair the world, Dr. Reed, when mankind is the biggest problem?
Oh, that's nonsense.
The world will be a much better place when we're gone.
No, it won't. There'll be no one to suffer.
Tell me about yours.
I don't want...
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any...
Never liked that kind of nihilistic viewpoint. Oh, the world would be better without people. All the suffering that breeds that attitude is suffering felt by humans mainly. Like, they're concerned about their own suffering, and not everyone experiences the world they do. Part of it is probably how someone's life played out, and part of it is maybe the chemistry of a particular person's brain. Some people being more prone to becoming depressed. Others. Yeah, I was going to speak to Nurse Brian again too.
Good evening, Doctor.
Just checking the video time.
According to the report I read, your unprofessional conduct put a patient in danger, Gwyneth.
That's not true. I know when my patient's life is at risk, and I'm more competent than a lot of doctors that I know. Problem is, I'm a woman.
I
True.
don't see what your gender has to do with your abilities, nurse.
Yes, nurse. Because I'll never be a doctor, no matter what my skills.
Yep.
I could make a decision that could save a life, but oh no, that's unbecoming conduct.
I mean, she's mistaken because she doesn't have the education. It's unfair that she can get the education, but she is mistaken.
You're mistaken, Nurse Brannigan. To be forbidden to enter medical school because of your gender is one thing. To break hospital rules is another.
To have the right to study shouldn't be determined by sex, skin, or wealth.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
I fully agree with that sentiment. But without the education, she's less able to make those decisions.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
She may make a right call, but without the medical knowledge, which admittedly was less useful back in the time of this game, there was less known, and so doctors were less advantaged relative to nurses in being able to make the right calls because so much less was known. I swear I saw a shimmer here. Is it through this window?
I'm alright. Don't waste your time.
Good
with
evening,
me.
Doctor.
These are all tell her about it. Tell her
I
this.
read your son's medical report, Beatrice. It's not the flu or anything life-threatening. What has you so worried?
He was at death's door when he was brought here. I just want him to be better as soon as possible.
He's not out of the woods yet, you know. He might need to stay here
Yep.
longer than expected.
Take care of him then, Dr. Reed. People here only seem to focus on contagious patients. I worry my poor Mortimer will be neglected.
They focus on the contagious ones because they can infect others, but yeah, they didn't have antivirals. They couldn't really make them less dangerous.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Huh.
I will not let you down, my boy.
But yeah, knowledge is, I guess you could call it a force multiplier on people's judgment. And there was a lot less known in this time period than now. So the nurse has more of a point than she would today, but still, that knowledge is necessary. It's a shame that these days you see in the US people effectively being denied the ability to study medicine just by limiting the number of people who can get the training. Like, I counted this myself and had to push through the unfair circumstances, take a ridiculous roundabout path, and I was going to make it, but at immense financial cost and time cost. And the key thing is the financial cost is something a lot of people, maybe from an even worse economic background than myself, are less confident in their abilities because of how they were raised or whatnot. I actually was raised in a way that did not teach me so much self-confidence, but in my abilities, but also to be very stubborn and not let anyone tell me what I was capable of. At the same, I'm saying people were discouraging, but I was also raised in a way that had me ignoring a lot of that, thankfully. So a lot of people discouraged me when I was like high school aged, did not have my best interests at heart at all. An abusive father, and he made friends with people in the town who he manipulated to say bad things and think poorly of his own kids, especially me. So, yeah. But anyways, with the immense cost, a lot of people aren't willing to do that, especially because that eats up most, in fact, all the financial advantage of becoming a doctor. Like, to the point where it was not the financially wisest decision to have not, went for some career that make more money a lot earlier. But I did because I want to help people. I knew I could help more people. I just personally wouldn't profit from it as much as earlier pivot to, I hear rats, to something more lucrative. But yeah, after immense invested time and money and effort, I got to the point where I was going to get into an MD program, and then I got sick with a virus that disabled me, screwing that up. But a lot of people, maybe they had family to support financially, maybe other things, they wouldn't even be able to do that. And so, for what's ultimately economic reasons, would be denied the chance to study medicine. And yeah, artificial limiting medical school entrance does that. Effectively ends up rationing a lot by socioeconomic status. That socioeconomic status be not just money, but like minorities have a hard time with things, at least without affirmative action to correct for it, which there is a lot of that, thankfully, for those individuals, but not enough actually around economic disadvantage, but a lot around like racial, gender disadvantage, as there should be. These things shouldn't. Whoop. Wasn't paying enough attention. They snuck up on me. That didn't work in terms of keeping him off. Main reason I'm taking the blood barrier is so that my attacks don't get interrupted when I get hit. It's probably not worthwhile. Guess it already wore off. Must have a very short time where it's active. I'll learn to use it eventually. anyways, it's a US problem. It's not like everywhere in the world enough doctors aren't trained. Although it's a global problem because the countries don't train enough. End up with physician shortages, and then the salaries there are higher, and they steal physicians from places that do. So they kind of end up leeching off of other countries.
I cannot enter.
Like the U.S. infamously, or anyone who's studied this issue, steals a lot of doctors from Canada, because Canada trains more doctors relative to their population than the U.S. does. But rather than take the more expensive option of training them, because medical education is subsidized in Canada, the U.S. kind of steals from Canada, and it's not. Most countries don't make medicine studying it for their citizens as expensive as the true cost. And so it's just like the U.S. steals like engineers and stuff from countries with invest more in education, and stole a lot of engineers from the former Soviet Union, for instance, just to give one of many examples. Soviet Union, of course, invested enormously in their education system relative to their wealth level of the country. And then all the benefit of that went to other countries that just stole the investment. But anyhow, not in this over-leveled. My stuns seem to work better. To the point, I can just keep these guys down. They're not that dangerous anymore to me. Cool. Because apparently your attacks deal more damage the higher level you are. Anyways, whether by gender, socioeconomic status, not putting enough money into medical training, or a number of things, if you limit the number of people who become doctors, and then they're stuck being nurses when they're smart enough to be doctors, they may start trying to do things they shouldn't do, because they think I'm just as smart as these doctors, and they are. And that's what's going on with Nurse Brannigan here in the game. She correctly thinks she's just as smart as Tippets and some of these others. Maybe has even been told as much by some of them. So she starts trying to go beyond her scope of practice, her education level, in her care. It's a shame. She should have been able to get a medical education. To believe those who have told Dr. Reed as much, she's smart enough to be a doctor. At least Tippets believe so. He's probably right. Knowing how these things actually work. And worked, especially back in this time period when it was even worse than today. My life, I worked as an EMT at times, and I definitely met people who were smart enough to be doctors, but were just never got there because it's expensive, long education path, and their socioeconomic background, they didn't feel they could afford to spend that time not making money. Sometimes they were thinking short term, but then again, I thought long term above all else. Invested heavily in my education, and then the investment never got a chance to pay off because I got disabled by a virus. If I'd done other things, I may have made more money before I got disabled. Of course, my expected lifetime earnings would have probably been lower, and the decisions I made were based on thinking I would have a better chance than I did of med school before special masters. So when I thought it was very close, obviously it made sense to just push that last little bit. And then when it became obvious that it had been further than I thought, then it actually was really close, and it made sense to push the last little bit. Some people would misconstrue that as sunk cost fallacy, but sunk cost fallacy is when you incorrectly consider the cost of past things and determining your future course of action. It doesn't matter what you invested in something before, it only matters how close you are now. So even if you worked very hard to something too hard and you were far from it when you thought you're close, if you're now close, you have to act like you're close. Sunk cost fallacy works both ways. It works with people persevering on something they should give up on because they've tried so hard when they're still not close. But it can also work with you giving up on something that you're actually really close on because of large amounts of failed effort in the past. That's the other side of sunk cost fallacy that people don't talk about, particularly annoying internet trolls. That's sunk cost fallacy. I dealt with some of those people. I correctly estimate how close it was to becoming a doctor by the end, but when I realized I'd been over-optimistic when I was younger, but I figured out realistically where it was, and at that point it made sense to just continue. If I figured it out earlier, maybe it wouldn't have, but again, it wasn't about making money, it was about helping others. Interesting. Shadow Veil. Or Spring. This could close distances quickly, occasionally useful. Shadow Veils. Quite expensive until you level up. But yeah, Spring. I don't know how to use this, but I guess I'll learn. Of course, you can also get in situations where you invest heavily in something and then it makes sense to ban later, but you're not able to ban it because for one reason or other you get stuck. Okay, now I have 5 bellies, 4 slots. I guess it doesn't hurt to have Spring in my reserve for certain enemies that it's useful against. And it might have gained a level for my character, even though, because I think you only gain levels when you take new abilities. I'll be going to that cemetery soon. I think there's a boss battle there. Anyways, like my Heart's Iron game, I'll give an example. I got in a situation where I was at war with a bunch of capitalist countries, I think I mentioned, and the Soviet Union as communist Germany. Not a situation where, I did it initially to try and prevent fascist Italy from conquering Yugoslavia. At the time, I thought that was smart, but once I made that decision, I didn't have the ability to the game doesn't let you surrender. I would have surrendered to the Soviets if they would accept a conditional surrender. Maybe given up Kaliningrad Oblast, that is Königsberg, let them create a puppet state there. If it ended the war, which has become immensely costly, but I didn't have that option. The AI in that game will never accept conditional surrenders. The only time it's useful is maybe a multiplayer game where people are willing to grant you, a chance if you screw up and get a war you didn't want. Very rarely will the AI ever accept it. Ooh. Blood barrier definitely has use in preventing enemies from you. Go away. Since I know they're about to close on me, or not, but it did buy me a moment of ow. I hear a skull. It's probably underground. You can hear them sometimes up here. Doubt they're on the surface in a sanitized district like this. Push through his attacks. Bleh. Blood barrier. Starting to learn how to use it correctly. But yeah, I have no option to surrender in that game, so done with those investigations. Stuff in the docks. Probably go there and do that next game session. It's time to rest for now. So my only choice is to try and defeat the Soviets, or if that's not possible, Soviets and the Poles and the Dutch in that game, if it's not possible to do that, at least fight long enough that the war score doesn't all go to need people to actually develop illnesses so I can treat them and get XP. So I'll actually rest another day here. Here we go. Number of people now sick at the Pembroke. Headache, headache, headache. Guess people I haven't met can't get sick. So I'll make some headache meds. And save. Should get a little XP for distributing those. I'll add opium for more. Should need to obtain more. Anyway, so in that, if you follow my Heart's Iron 4 and then you're following this, I've got to fight, because otherwise even if it were possible to surrender or just lose, the Italians would annex me. But as the war goes on, the Soviets get proportionally more of the war score. But you're not here for that game. I've talked enough. Dr. Reed has reached level 14. I know he was 13 at the start of this video. Gonna do some investigations in the docks. That should get more XP. I'm level 15. I'll probably head up here and do the cemetery, but I'm not done with the docks yet. Till next time, this is Northstar signing off. I wish you all the best. Take care of each other. Be kind to yourselves. And may you always find a guiding star to lead you home. Adieu.